And welcome back. Now, with hundreds of millions of dollars likely to be spent when hosting an international sporting event, legacy becomes a key area in how a host country will recover its cost of spending. Now, Jordan Ford explores that aspect in part 2 of this series.
Part 1 of this series discussed the hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructural development and other economic factors that could come into play if Jamaica is to be ready to host an international sporting event. And according to Dr. Christine Clark, lecturer in the Department of Economics for the course Economics of Sports at the University of the West Indies, Mona, in most cases, these hundreds of millions of dollars are never recovered by the host city.
From the economics perspective, if you're just looking at straight economics, the literature can't find hardly any sport, any international games that just from the direct revenue can cover the direct costs. It's almost impossible. Many of them have to allude to some legacy.
And that's where strategic planning comes in. Chris Daring was central to such planning the last time a major sporting event came to Jamaica's shores, playing the role of managing director for the ICC Cricket World Cup in 2007. He says he and his team were deliberate in their quest to minimize wastage of facilities for that tournament.
We in fact had drafted a 198-page bid book before countries were allowed to participate in the Cricket World Cup, basically detailing all the technical specifications of what is meant to be world class, because that is what you'll find in things like host agreement.
And with cricket bringing the most recent international event to the shores, Daring says the government could use the expertise created from hosting the 2007 tournament to host another such event.
We could probably host a World T20 because of the number of facilities that would be needed. You don't need that many for a World T20 type tournament. Well, we already have a couple of cricket stadiums and so on. You need events that don't necessarily draw heavily on infrastructure requirements, because that's where all the cost is in.
As for legacy, he says the government would have to be smart about how much expansion would be done to facilities in order to host an event.
When a bid required, minimum capacity, say, of 15,000 seats, it doesn't have to be permanent 15,000 seat stadium. You can have a 5,000 seater stadium built, and then you bring in 10,000 temporary seats for the event, because your legacy called for a 5,000 seater stadium in the long run.
And the general manager of the Independence Park Limited, operators of the National Stadium Complex, Major Desmond Brown, says their proposal to upgrade the National Stadium from its current capacity to a 40,000 seater does take legacy into consideration.
One of the problems is the way the stadium is presently organized. You either rent this grandstand or you rent the whole stadium. In the plan, we're going to have sections. So you could rent sections. So whilst it might not be filled every time. And the other thing is that the amenities, some people, if they can't get a grandstand seat, they're not coming to the stadium. The other thing is that you cannot build a stadium that only operates on a weekend. So one of the things we're looking at, for instance, is that we design the boxes in such a way that we could rent it out in the week for seminars to companies. They could have meetings here. You have to have, how stadiums design now is that it's not a weekend, you have to design it to maximize during the week.
In the third and final installment of this series, we examine what changes would have to be made to traffic and other areas in order to facilitate hosting a major international sporting event in Jamaica. Jordan Fort, TVJ Sports.